I'm not sure which part we're in. If you haven't seen this, this is Mehdi Hassan debating these, basically these neo-Nazis on Jubilee. This guy we're looking at here is Persian, so he's from Iran, and some of his fellow debaters, right-wing debaters, said that they don't believe that people should be allowed to, they want immigrants out of the country completely. And this guy is an immigrant. It's wild to me the lengths to which these people will go to defend people that are absolutely vile and evil and disgusting. Let's listen to what this dude has to say here.
People are going to see your neighbors, your friends.
Millions
you
of people,
the killing of
millions
children.
of people don't know what's going on.
Even your fellow right-wingers are saying, don't go this far. Like genocide, sure, but don't advocate killing.
Yeah, just a quick thing here. Right now, they are debating whether Trump is doing an ethnic cleansing or intends to ethnically cleanse Gaza. The fact is, yes, by definition, Trump wants to ethnically cleanse Gaza. There is no debate to be had. This is a factual matter. And, you know, these groups of people, they're kind of split into two categories. These far-right Republicans. We have Nazis and we have Zionists. The Nazis want all Jews to die. And the Zionists also want all Jews to die, but not until they get there and rebuild Solomon's temple so Jesus can return. So nobody in this room likes Israel, really. At best, they pretend to, as a pretense, basically. But I think by and large, everybody in this room, as far as I've heard, they're all pretty much anti-Israel.
People don't understand the brainwashing that is going on in Islamic Republic and in Palestine to create
You're
this hatred.
obsessed with Iran so much that you're supporting the killing of Palestinian children who never harmed you or any other Israeli. That's insane.
Let's step back and listen, because that's fascinating.
Hamas.
They support resisting Israel.
Oh, wow, great.
Hello, sir. Welcome back.
See you again, Medhi. All right, so I agree that Trump wants to do a cleansing, but not an ethnic one, because that area requires a lot of cleansing. Because when you have a population that was taught from early childhood age to hate Jews, Christians, and pagans.
That's nonsense. They were not taught from an early age to hate Jews or Christians or pagans, but specifically Jews right now. They were taught, these children, that they're bombed constantly. They were taught that they don't have any food because of what Israel is doing, and that's accurate. They weren't taught that stuff. Let me rephrase. They learned that stuff based on what they see going on around them. If there was a country that was oppressing us in the United States, we would be very unhappy with those people as well, whoever that country happened to be. Netanyahu, the reason I'm drawing this distinction that may seem minor is because Netanyahu engages in Holocaust revisionism by claiming that Hitler learned to hate Jews from the Arabs incorrectly. That's a lie. It's not true. And this guy seems to be, at the very bare minimum, implying that that's the case, that Arabs are responsible for anti-Semitism, or that they're engaging in anti-Semitism, and that's just not what's happening. It is a political struggle happening for political reasons, because Israel and the people there want to control that land. And the people that live there right now hate the oppressors, which Israel is acting as right now.
You need some serious re-education.
Number one, that's not true. And number two, that's not what he's proposing.
Well, I mean, most Palestinians, by a polling number, do support Hamas.
They support resisting Israel.
Well, I mean, the thing is, what did they do in the first place? That they're in this,
I assume he's talking about October 7th. That was Hamas that did that, yes. And do you know where Hamas is headquartered? I know you're thinking Gaza, right? It's in Qatar. They're headquartered in Qatar. You know who's headquartered in Gaza? Civilians. That too. Civilians live in Gaza. There are certainly some Hamas people, I suppose, I'll go that far, in Gaza, but Israel isn't targeting Hamas in Gaza. They're targeting innocent people who didn't do shit to anybody. And it's vile and evil and wrong and disgusting and horrific. And something needs to be done to help these people, honestly.
Called open air prison.
Great question. What did they do to deserve being occupied?
Well, here's the thing, because the Islamic Republic in Iran is using them as a tool.
What has Iran
As a
got
tool,
to do with this?
as a tool for their Islamic expansion.
When did the Islamic...
Because they don't-
hold on. When did the Islamic Republic of Iran... You're Iranian American,
Yes.
I believe.
Yes, I am.
When was the Islamic Republic of Iran founded?
1979.
When was Gaza occupied by Israel?
19... Well, the very first
67.
time. 67, yes.
So, can we do the maths together? 12 years before the Islamic Republic of Iran existed,
Yep.
Israel was oppressing, occupying, dispossessing the people of Gaza. So your argument makes no sense.
Were there any terrorist organizations at the time?
The PLO was considered a terrorist organization by the entire Western world.
All right, so what's Hamas there?
Hamas did not exist till the 1980s.
Exactly.
And you want to hear something fascinating? Israel funded Hamas. Hamas is a political party. It was a political party in Gaza. And they were elected as the government in Gaza in 2006, I think, or something like that. And Israel directly funded Hamas. They funneled money into the Hamas political party because it represented chaos, and that's what they wanted. Just like with Russia striving for chaos in the exact same way, Israel strives for chaos in Gaza. They want to make it an unlivable mess so that they can become the saviors and come in and fix it all. So all this bullshit about how Hamas is, this eternal boogeyman or whatever, it's trash.
My point is, after the Islamic Republic came, it became chaotic because the Islamic Republic has started to use the so-called innocent Palestinians for their own
So-called innocent Palestinians? You don't think Palestinians are innocent?
Not all of them. Because
But what about the 17,000 children who were killed?
They're doing the same.
17,000 children were killed. Were they?
I'm sorry. People are always talking about women and children being killed or whatever because those are the most obvious examples of innocent people, and you cannot possibly reinterpret this to be anything other than just killing innocent civilians because they're not old enough to be in the military, for example. But nobody ever points out the fact that there are young men there that didn't do shit to anybody and don't want anything to do with any of this, that don't want to be a part of this insane mess. They just want to live their fucking life. And Israel's killing them too. Yes, I appreciate that people care about the women and the children in Gaza, but I don't want the men to be forgotten either. Like the young boys, that 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are just trying to live their fucking life. Suddenly they are considered enemy combatants by the entire world. If you're an 18-year-old kid, when I was kicked out of my house as a Jehovah's Witness or an ex-Jehovah's Witness, when I turned 18, I am now considered an enemy combatant, and I'm not counted in statistics of people being murdered wantonly. It's just, I don't want to forget. I don't want to overlook those people who are also completely innocent and didn't do shit to anybody.
They're not innocent. Were they not innocent?
Who's responsible for that?
Israel, who
No,
dropped the bombs.
Hamas is responsible. Hamas is responsible for hiding in hospitals and making tunnels underneath
So
those
when
hospitals.
children are shot in the head by Israeli snipers not responsible for that?
Look,
It's a simple question.
Here's the problem.
When Israeli snipers shoot Palestinian children in Gaza in the head, as eyewitness testimony and doctors' testimony proves, that's not the fault of the Israeli snipers.
This is the problem, because when you have a
The problem is you won't answer the question. I'll ask you a third time. When Israeli snipers shoot Palestinian children in the head, is that not the fault of Israeli snipers?
Well, you gotta let me finish.
No, you got to answer the question.
Yes or no? It's a very straightforward yes or no question. Whether it's happening or not, it is. It's a straightforward question. When a child is shot in the head by a sniper, whose fault is it? The child's or the sniper's?
Fourth time.
Well,
When Israeli
I will
snipers
get to
shoot
your answer.
Palestinian children in the
I will
head.
get to your
We're running
answer.
out of time. I need
Well,
to know what you think about innocent children.
because I will
what
get
you
to-
said was pretty outrageous. You said
I will
so-called
get to your answer.
innocent Palestinians. For the fifth time, when Palestinian children are shot in the head by Israeli snipers, is that not the fault of Israeli
What did those
snipers?
children do?
What did the
They literally were children. There are a ton of videos out there. There's one recently, in fact, of an innocent child, literally 12 years old, carrying a bag of flour to his family. being tracked by a drone. We got the drone footage. This is footage from a camera that was mounted to the drone. And the drone unloads on this child. And when the dust clears, the kid's laying there dead. There is no excuse for that shit right there. None. What did the child do? Carried flour back to his family. That's what. And that's not the only example of it. There are a billion examples of this shit happening, and it's wrong and evil and vile and disgusting and unacceptable. I will never support an organization or a country or a whatever that justifies that shit, that takes part in that, that covers up for that. It is a literal Holocaust happening right now that we are witnessing in 4K. And the fact that people are even on here arguing that is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
What did you tell me? Did the children deserve to be shot in the head?
Because the problem is,
you know, millions of people are watching you say
they start brainwashing children. They start brainwashing children at a very young age.
So you support sniping children in Gaza?
Look,
do other people here support sniping children in Gaza? Is that?
That's what he just said. He said they start brainwashing them young. He wants to kill them all. He wants to kill them all, right? I don't know how else to interpret what he just said.
Conservative position now.
What if they're wearing a suicide vest?
They weren't.
But if they were, and they're running toward you, fine. Okay, great. Yes, enemy combatant. That's not what's happening.
What if they are?
They're not, though.
What if
of children. I have friends who went there. Doctors went to Gaza. American doctors. They came back as we had multiple children.
What if they're hell-bent? What if they're hell-bent on killing you and your family?
A 10-year-old child, an 8-year-old child, a 6-year-old child.
Because
this is
like
bad
I said,
for you.
Like
You're
said,
sitting on
they're brainwashing
live television where millions of people are going to see your neighbors, your friends. You support the killing of children.
Millions of people don't know what's going on.
Even your fellow right-wingers are saying, don't go this far. White genocide, sure, but don't advocate
millions of people don't understand the brainwashing that is going on in Islamic Republic and in Palestine to create this hatred.
You're obsessed with Iran so much that you're supporting the killing of Palestinian children who never harmed you or any other Israeli. That's insane.
Look.
And the fact that you support Trump's ethnic cleansing now doesn't surprise me.
I didn't say ethnic cleansing. I said cleansing of the land.
Oh my God, dude. No, you didn't. Medhi Hassan said that, and that's the claim that you were just arguing with.
Land.
All right, pause.
Because you need to cleanse the land.
Dude, that's fucking vile.
I'm sure Slobodan Milosevic said similar stuff.
You've been voted out. Please return to
That conservative has great drip. Right? Yeah. I'll give him that. He absolutely does. He needs to find that mustache, bro. He needs to find a damsel in distress or a damsel and put her in distress and some train tracks and some rope. You can't wear that mustache without also having those things available and on tap and ready to go. Seems to me.
your seat.
How you doing? Good to see you again.
I'm good seeing you too, man.
Oh, this is the guy, if you're watching in another part, who said, get out of here. We don't want you here. You're going to be the first to go and shit like that. Oh my God, dude.
First thing I'm going to say is I'm not down for Israel. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to say.
That tells me that he's a Nazi. The people who are opposed to Israel in this debate aren't doing it for humanitarian reasons, like me. I'm opposed to Israel mistreating Palestinians. They're doing it. They fucking hate Palestinians too, but they really fucking hate Jews. That's what it's about for these specific people that we're listening to.
And I don't like when you come up here and you use the type of rhetoric that you do. You talk like all these like left-wing positions, and then
the type of rhetoric. Oh, you're complaining about rhetoric, brother. You literally just said you need to get out of here. You just told this guy you don't want him here. You're complaining about rhetoric right now? You
go to the last part, which is I don't support ethnic cleansing in Palestine. I think you're doing a huge disservice to pro-Palestinians when you start allying yourself with all these progressives. I don't think it looks good because you have all these conservatives in here who oppose war. They oppose intervention in the same tradition of Pat Buchanan and all the greats that came before
Not Donald Trump, though, sadly.
Ew, dude, Pat Buchanan. Why the fuck are you supporting Pat Buchanan of all people? He's this old politician from like the 80s and the 90s, I think. And he was a colossal scumbag, truthfully. But he did have some interesting lines. Like, I don't think that he was in favor of the KKK, for example. That could be incorrect. You're going to want to fact check me on that. But, yeah, anyway, he had some interesting lines, is the point.
Yeah, it is sad. It is sad. I do agree. I mean, he ran on an anti-war ticket. He said he was going to. I didn't.
Because he lies, right?
You gonna let me talk, or you
Sorry.
just want to? Yeah, true. So, I mean, yeah, you keep going back to Trump. I don't think this is part of his plan. I think this is a plan of lobbyists, and this is not just unique to Trump. It's been a thing since the Democrats. It's been a thing since the Republicans before him. It's been like this since Truman. I don't know if you read like John Mearsheimer's The Israel Lobby or anything like that. Would you agree or disagree with anything like that?
Oh, I agree with Stephen Walt and John Mearsheimer. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
great. So I'm just wondering, when you
Interesting.
ally yourself with all these leftists and you come up here and you argue for immigration, you argue up here that Trump's this bad criminal and this and that, and then you
think Trump's bad too?
I think he's good on some questions and bad on other things, but let me get to my point here. Is you ally yourselves with guys like Jewish Voices for Peace and all those guys.
Great people.
Yeah, Jewish Voice for Peace. They are a Jewish group that is opposed to war. What is his problem with them? I don't understand.
Yeah, not really though.
Why?
Because
Yeah.
they're self-interested in it.
They're not, by definition.
No, it says it on their homepage.
By definition, they're not self-interested, right? They're going against their own
Are you going to let me talk? On their homepage, it literally says that we are here to segregate Judaism from Zionism.
I think what he means is we are here to separate the two and show people that not all Jewish people are nutcases. He used the word segregate in an inflammatory way just now. That's interesting.
very clear they're doing this in their own interest. That's why it literally says Jewish Voices for Peace. They're going to be the good Jews who say that we don't support Palestine. And then what happens is you take all these progressives, you go out there and LARP in the street, and then everyone here who's conservative, they're going to vote for the pro-war candidate because they don't want to be associated with all the liberals.
You're forced to vote for pro-war people. Poor
It's either that or get replaced in my country. What do you want me to do?
Oh, you and your replacement bullshit.
Get replaced in my country. He's a great replacement conspiracy theorist. Again, this is a Nazi conspiracy theory. And that's why Nazis march around saying the Jews will not replace us. They seem to believe that Jews are trying to change the demographic makeup of a country in an effort to take political control of it. It's delusion. Complete delusion. My God, dude. Yeah, and Mehdi Hassan is very obviously done now. He's like, what the fuck did I do this for? Why am I even here? I'm literally debating full-blown, self-avowed, Hitler-loving, Sieg-heiling Nazis right now.
Yeah, okay, buddy.
You're gonna be the first one that's going to the promised land.
Oh, wow. There's 3 people so far. Let's keep counting. We should be nice.
You're the first one that's gonna be going to the promised land. I'm assuming that means you're the first one that I'm going to kill when I gain political control of this country. Is that what that means? The promised land? That's fucking disturbing, dude. Like, people zeroed in on that fascist guy who, like, laughed like an idiot and said, quite frankly, 24/7. But I believe that this dude in the pink shirt is even more concerning. Let me look this up. Listening to a debate between fascist extremists, anti-immigration, and a left-wing commentator, Mehdi Hassan. One of the extremists said, "You'll be the first one to be sent to the promised land." What did he likely mean by that? I don't know how else to interpret this, but yeah, it's a death threat, right? If the speaker is implying Hassan is Jewish, which he's not, he's Muslim, then promised land could refer to Israel, a frequent anti-Semitic trope among white nationalists. In this case, the phrase could mean you'll be deported or forced to flee, or more insidiously, you're part of a Zionist conspiracy. It's often a euphemism for death or the afterlife, especially in sarcastic or threatening usage. In this case, speaker may have meant you'll be the first one we kill. It's the kind of language extremists use to maintain plausible deniability when signaling intimidation or violence. I don't know how else to interpret that, but that he just, like, threatened Mehdi Hassan's life.
Oh, wow. There's 3 people so far. Let's keep counting. We should be nicer to you, otherwise you'll deport us. What a great argument. This is a free speech debate, Ken. It's not your country.
Wait, I'm sorry. What was it he said?
You'll deport us. What a great argument. This is a free speech debate, Ken.
Yeah, respect our country or get out.
It's not your country, my friend. It's our country, whether you like it or not.
That is fucking wild, dude. This debate was so fucking crazy. I cannot believe some of the shit that these people said. That is about as disturbing as that shit gets, for real. Oh my God. You'll be the first one to go to the promised land. God damn. Medhi will now choose a far-right conservative to debate for 10 minutes on the claim if they're choosing.
I thought Kai was... He smiled, he laughed, he did it. We disagreed. He did it in... I felt like it was good faith. Let's see.
I appreciate it, Medhi.
He seemed to be in good faith. He seems kind of smart. And, you know, he's one of the few people who doesn't want to deport me. Or maybe not.
Bro, deport is like going way too easy on them. Like these people are literally threatening your life. They're literally saying they want you to fucking die. I think it was probably a wise decision on Mehdi Hasan's part to say deport, though, because you don't want to overblow or like exaggerate this stuff, or you lose the support of the people in the center. It was wise for him to say deport, but we all know exactly what he meant when he said, "You'll be the first we send to the promised land." Holy fuck, dude.
We gotta find out.
My claim is
If somebody says Timmy Turner didn't age well, yeah, dude in the pink, right?
we should get rid of birthright citizenship.
Why do you want to get rid of birthright citizenship, and how, by the way? Because you know it's in the Constitution. I'm so glad you brought this up.
Yes.
Because it was one of my...
The 14th.
14th. I mentioned it to a bunch of your friends, and nobody wanted to engage in the 14th.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the 14th Amendment.
Exactly.
Citizenship clause, which says that if you're born here, you're a citizen of the United States.
Yes. I chose this because it's an extension of the original debate and the immigration debate.
Okay.
I think birthright citizenship, first of all, when it was originally argued, you know, among the people who were actually voting on the clause, right? It was argued that the birthright citizenship was not automatically extended to everybody who was just born here. And we have a long history of that as well, for example, with the Native Americans, who had particular laws that applied solely to them.
Yep.
What I think we're seeing in this country is not everybody is so similarly under the jurisdiction thereof of the United States, right? And by allowing for birthright citizenship and not interpreting the Constitution as we're legally allowed to and restrict, you know, the automatic citizenship of anybody who's born here, we actually remove the issue, for example, of family separation, because there is no incentive of a family to come over to this country illegally and then have a child, which is contributing to the awful situation we have in America of breaking up families.
This is called anchor babies. This is a really popular term under George W. Bush when he was trying to ban immigration to one degree or another. He talked about anchor babies. These people are coming over here, they're having children, and now we're stuck with them. In reality, that almost doesn't happen. It's not common, first of all. And second, who fucking cares? Who cares? Immigration is a good thing. People, I'll tell you what this guy and the others in this group fear. They fear an invading force coming over the wall or whatever, coming over the border and building like a full-blown invasion, like a what do you call it? Building out a full sleeper cell. That's the word I was looking for. You don't have to worry about that with supposed anchor babies, as they call them. People are not having children here in an effort to build an invading force. That's delusion if you believe that. There's literally not one single grain of truth to it. Dude, this thing is freezing in really weird ways. The point is that anchor babies are not a problem the way that these people want to depict.
This is not something that I imagine you or I agree with.
No.
The issue is birthright citizenship has incentivized that.
So even if I were to concede that in some cases birthright citizenship has incentivized that, you know, I don't like the phrase anchor babies, but I'm not naive enough to pretend that there are not immigrants who come here and time the pregnancy in order to get. Of course.
Probably. Sure. Yeah. But what's the problem here? I mean, and is it really a pernicious issue that exists? No, it's not.
You and I can agree on that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you then rip up a constitutional principle that goes back centuries, goes back before the 14th Amendment. 14th Amendment came about, I think, in 1868, if memory serves me correctly. But the principle underlying it is actually from my other country, the UK, ancient English common law, right? So this was always the case. The 14th Amendment, as you know, because you seem well read, came along and codified what was already a principle in American and English law, that if you're born in the country, you are a citizen. Now, you mentioned the point about jurisdiction. There is that little bit in there where it says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That in the debate, if you go back and read the debate that the senators had at the time, they were very explicit that that was to do with foreign ministers and foreign ambassadors, diplomats living in embassies. Their kids shouldn't be citizens. Obviously, they're here on their own. You know, the Argentine embassy in DC is Argentine soil. So we accept all that.
Absolutamente, amigo.
But when they were asked about Chinese immigrants, Senator Trumbull, who was, I think, the chair of the Judiciary Committee back in the 1860s during this debate, he said at the time, Chinese immigrants' children, they're citizens. In fact, 1898, as you well know, we get Wong Kim Ark, Supreme Court case, Wong Kim Ark versus the United States. And the Supreme Court says, yes, even the child of undocumented Chinese immigrants is an American citizen.
I'm comfortable saying, which I think this is what Medhi Hassan was trying to establish, that birthright citizenship has existed for a very long time. That there's nothing, like, changing this would fundamentally change the way everything works, and not just in the United States, but it would change how the international system has to operate, because most countries have some form of this in one respect or another. And we all, you know, the goal of countries in the world is to make sure, to guarantee that we don't end up with any stateless children or stateless people generally. Nobody should be stateless. You know, you're born in the United States, but you came here from Mexico. Or your parents came here from Mexico, but they aren't U.S. citizens. So now what are you if you don't have birthright citizenship? You're not Mexican because you weren't born in Mexico. What do? You're not a United States citizen. You're stateless. That is a conundrum, a problem that we've resolved as a world, like, community through birthright citizenship by and large. We don't want stateless people. And a lot of Jews were declared stateless in Germany in the 30s when their citizenship was revoked and stuff. That's the type of shit that we don't want.
So this is a principle going back centuries. So while I can agree with you that there are cases that abuse the 14th Amendment, that there are issues of family separation, I'm not going to rip up a constitutional principle that goes back centuries and is backed by 27-year-old Supreme Court precedent because Donald Trump is looking for ways to cut the number of brown and black people in the United States.
If you don't mind me interrupting, this is where I think it's important as well to go back to what we talked about with the Constitution. When we're analyzing, and admittedly, I'm not as interested in the legal argument. There's obviously many ways to interpret the Constitution, but I don't think, especially among conservatives, that it is positive to use the Constitution to dismantle it. When we analyze the original context, like you were saying, in the late 19th century, our immigration law was absolutely different, including, you know, in respect with the Irish and Chinese immigrants that were coming over. It was absolutely different. Changed.
We had open borders, my friend. Some people in this room would hate it. But we had open borders for half of American history.
Well, that I don't think that's very true.
No, it's absolutely true.
100% true.
Well, hold on. If you're comparing the open borders, which I don't concede to, but if you're comparing the open borders prior to like 1910 and prior to the Hart-Celler Act, and you look at the amount of immigration and who was coming over.
Nice deflection. Amount is irrelevant. We did have an open border.
It is absolutely relevant.
Why?
Because the Constitution, like the founding fathers.
Your argument is we had open borders, but there were fewer immigrants.
I was about to answer.
Okay.
It's important to analyze the context wherein these laws and parts of the Constitution arise. The original founding fathers said the Constitution was made only for immoral and religious people.
No, they did not. They did not say that. You know who said that? I'll tell you. Let me give you a little bit of a history lesson here. You know who wrote the Constitution? A bunch of people. James Madison was one of them. And there were people who would add to it, they would contribute, they would write things in or whatever. And there were multiple drafts. This one fucking asshole kept coming along and inserting God shit into the Constitution. John Adams. Thomas Jefferson come along and say, John, stop it. We already wrinkled the other one up and threw it back there because your dumbass inserted a bunch of Jesus shit in there. We intentionally, specifically did not want Jesus shit in the Constitution. I'm 100% real. This really happened. Stop inserting shit like that into the Constitution. The final draft of the Constitution didn't have any Jesus shit. No thanks to John Adams. Later on, John Adams, this religious fucking nutcase, says the Constitution will only work for Christians. It'll only work for religious people. That quote that he just gave us. John Adams said that. Nobody fucking liked the guy in the, the constitutional, creation process because he kept trying to insert shit that didn't belong. Because he completely disagreed with the entire foundation of what they were trying to do. So no, the founding fathers did not say the Constitution only works for a religious and moral people. Some fucking shithead said that and tried to insert that shit all through the entire goddamn document. Nobody else taking part wanted anything to do with it. You want to set that straight.
The Constitution arise. The original founding fathers said the Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people.
No, one fucking dickhead said that.
And is wholly inadequate to the government of any other, which means the people that wrote this document understood that it would not be able to properly...
Super secular people, but let's just be clear on that.
Oh, no, that's not true. They were deists.
A lot of them were super
No,
secular.
the majority were...
No, they weren't. Maybe a majority. I'd be willing to take the step to say before the concept of evolution existed, the majority of the founding fathers said, I don't believe in any of this stupid, ridiculous Christian shit, but I suppose that there's a possibility that maybe God created things or something. That's what happened. But you can be deist. In fact, you can be Christian and also secular simultaneously. Secular just means not inserting religion in government. They were very, very secular, all of them, except for John Adams, that stupid shithead.
Deists.
But they were secular. Secular doesn't mean atheist. You know what that means.
I understand that, but deist doesn't mean secular or atheist. It means they believe in a God, but not a God that's
I didn't say
particularly
anything about whether
present.
they're deist or theist. I said they're
He's confusing it. He has no idea what he's talking about.
secular.
Okay, but secular
means
and
you separate church and state.
Okay, well, let's talk. We could even talk about that. That's a perfect example.
You're going to run out of your own time making your argument, which you haven't made so far.
I understand, but the separation of church and state is now completely differently understood than originally proposed.
No, it's not. Actually, it's understood exactly as it was intended to be understood all the way back then. In fact, the shit that's in the Constitution today, the things that we base our secular state on today are from then. Thomas Jefferson wrote letters back and forth to Danbury Baptist Church and others explaining what his vision was of a secular state. And we have enacted it. And that's what we built our understanding and laws upon. His interpretation, the Danbury letters.
Thomas Jefferson, who talks about the wall of separation, which doesn't even exist in the Constitution.
Yes, it does. First sentence of the First Amendment of the Constitution. This pisses me off. I'm sorry. He's repeating propaganda spouted off by David Barton. I'm going to step back. We're going to get context for this. Here's the First Amendment. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And as the federal constitution, that means that it applies to all states as well. So no state, no federal legislative body, no nothing, nobody can establish laws that support any single religion over another. It's called the Establishment Clause. And Thomas Jefferson explained in detailed letters that were published so that we could understand what the goal was here. Thomas Jefferson wrote letters about the Establishment Clause and what it meant. And he called it the separation of church and state. That's what he referred to the Establishment Clause as, the separation of church and state. So you can say it's not in the Constitution, and it's just as valid to say that as me saying gun rights aren't in the Constitution. We don't have gun rights because the words gun rights aren't in there. You won't find gun rights. You'll find bits about, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, but that's not about gun rights, is it? The words gun rights aren't anywhere to be found in the Constitution. So just like separation of church and state isn't found in the Constitution, neither are gun rights. You and I both understand how fucking stupid that is to say.
understood than originally proposed. Thomas Jefferson, who talks about the wall of separation, which doesn't even exist in the Constitution, understood
Neither do gun rights.
it in a different
Supreme
way.
Court precedent, as you well know.
Yeah, sure. But the precedent of the last 100 years, wherein the country has been completely different from its founding, should not overrule the original intent of the people who wrote the document that you and I are both citing.
Yes, it should. That's why they're here, to interpret the document. What are you fucking talking about? The document gives them the right, the judges that is, to interpret the document.
Which means,
But I'm not locked into what the people who wrote that. We've had amendments to the Constitution. You know that, right?
I understand that.
Okay.
And this is our fundamental disagreement,
Yes.
is that I don't believe...
You think you could read the minds of people in the
No,
1770s?
that's not true.
And I'm stuck.
I just believe this country ought to be more like the country we originally had, and I don't
Great,
think...
that's
and
your opinion. You're entitled to it.
I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to change it, then change it. Go ahead, give it a shot. You have a right to try to modify the Constitution and update it and whatever. I don't give a fuck. Go nuts. As long as it's done by democratic means. But that's not what these people are trying to do, of course. They want to force it. If you didn't see the other part, it's pretty clear that they're trying to create autocracy. They even use that word, autocracy.
That.
But there's a factual basis to it.
Well, let me try to see what you believe.
Okay.
If we are voting on these constitutional amendments, if we are interpreting them, and our interpretation becomes absolutely, let's say, a 180 from what the original intent of the authors of that
Yes.
document is, are you in favor of that?
If it's done by democratic means, then I'm okay with it being reinterpreted, but I would absolutely fight to my dying breath to prevent like freedom of speech being removed, and I'd be horrified by it. I wouldn't say that it's illegal, and I wouldn't, like, I don't know, how the fuck would you repeal the First Amendment? It's kind of an absurd concept at this point.
I guess it depends on the issue.
Okay, I would say no matter what...
So, for example, take the Second Amendment, which we kind of danced around. It's not been but come up here and there.
Yeah.
You know the debate about the Second Amendment is the fundamental debate is one side says it's unlimited, and the other side says no. What they meant was the militias.
Yeah.
They didn't, and they had muskets. They didn't mean AR-15s, right? So we can have that endless debate, which I really don't care for about that. But to come back to your point about the constitutional principles, the 14th Amendment comes along in the 1860s, so it's pretty old. It's not as old as America.
Yeah.
But it comes along, and it's been around for 150 years. So if you want to get away with,
it was around. It was around before 150 million Americans.
And I'm saying it was around before the United States was even created. It's part of ancient English common law. If you're born in a place, you're a citizen of that place, unless you're the child of a foreign diplomat or on a Native American reservation.
Again, like, dealing with citizenship issues doesn't just affect the United States or U.S. citizens. It's a world thing, a world problem, where we don't want to create a scenario where we have stateless people that creates massive, insane chaos.
English common law did not exist simultaneously as millions of people coming across the border in a year.
Just to get to principles, your argument is numbers change everything because we've got so many more people.
Not solely, but absolutely.
Okay.
The demographics of your immigration absolutely change it. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? If you got rid of the 14th Amendment, what would be in its place?
I think a citizenship test would be fantastic.
What age?
I wish.
What age?
I think we could administer it in high school.
To everyone?
Sure.
Or just the immigrants?
No, everybody.
And then if you fail it, you denaturalize white American.
Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't get a government job.
Denaturalize that dude.
I think this.
Okay, he's not talking about citizenship. He doesn't seem to understand what citizenship is and what the benefits are or whatever. That's wild, dude. Oh my God, these people.
Plenty of benefits that the government offers people that you should not be able to receive.
I'll tell you this, right? This might sound bad,
and I think
people care for me anyway. So let me say something you might not like.
Nobody would pass it.
If you have a high school immigration citizenship test for everyone,
I think people will take citizenship more seriously.
The immigrant kids are going to outperform the white kids, and you might actually end up denaturalizing some of the white.
Do you see this dude holding his head like this? That's absolutely true. I could pass a citizenship test for sure because I understand, this is my job. I'm like immersed in this 24/7, but citizenship tests are fucking hard, dude. They are really, really difficult. You don't just waltz in and take one of those things. Example, citizenship test. What's the supreme law of the land? The Constitution. What does the Constitution do? I wouldn't be able to get these exact answers because it seems like it's looking for an answer from a book. But yeah, sets up the government, defines the government, protects basic rights of Americans. The idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are those words? We the people, right? Yeah. What is an amendment? What do we call the first 10 amendments of the Constitution? Bill of Rights, of course. What is one right or freedom from the First Amendment? How many amendments does the Constitution have? 26? 27. I would have gotten that wrong. If you're 65 or older, been a legal permanent resident in the U.S. for 20 years or more, you may study just the questions that have been marked with an asterisk. Interesting. What are 2 rights in the Declaration of Independence? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. You can practice any religion or not practice a religion. What is freedom of religion? Fascinating. That's really interesting. I passed the citizenship test. It's passable. Absolutely. It is. But it's really hard unless you study for it, I figure. I don't know that I would pass it right now because these questions seem like questions that you would need to study for specifically. I don't know. Fascinating, though. All right, let's continue.
I think the immigrant kids are going to outperform the white kids, and you might actually end up denaturalizing some of the white kids, and then people here
Dude grabbing his head. They're mad.
will be really upset.
And well, hold on. And I like to be consistent about this. That's possible. But what I think it would do is it would give everybody a larger sense of the importance of citizenship.
So you would say no one born in this country is a citizen. No one.
Automatically no. Automatically no.
Wow.
I think we could extend that. You know, people who have a heritage in the country
What
of
are
like
they until they pass the test? Undocumented?
I suppose, yeah. They are not able
He doesn't know what citizenship is for or what it does or whatever. That's absurd.
to receive government benefits. They're not able to receive government benefits. They're not able to apply for these jobs.
I mean, you can make that a rule without changing the rules or expectations for citizenship.
For citizens.
Okay, well, hold on. We're talking here about the way that we would implement it.
Yeah, it's pretty important. If you're trying to get rid of the 14th Amendment, I'm going to ask about the practicalities of it.
And we're not.
Trump's doing it right now.
And I'm not going to be able to explain it to you in 10 minutes. But what I can explain to you is that right now in this country, we have a crisis of people not.
I don't accept that.
Hold on. We're not understanding what citizenship is. The way that you've referred to citizenship makes everybody who hasn't come to the United States an undocumented American citizen until the time they come over here.
That's how a lot of countries are, right? You know that birthright citizenship is operated by multiple democracies around the world. I know Trump lies and says we're the only country that does it. He lies. That's not true. Multiple countries have birthright citizenship.
Do you think it ought to be that way? Do you think everybody in the world?
Yeah, because you don't want to end up in a stateless situation. That's bad. That's really fucking bad.
Is an undocumented American?
So, hold on. Or undocumented Canadian or undocumented Brit, right? Or undocumented.
Sure. Well, I'm an American, so I say America. But yeah.
But I'm saying, right, the principle is you immigrate. We have free movement of people. I support free movement of people around the world.
But do you believe they're all
Are you Kim Jong-un? You think people should only stay in one country and never leave and be blocked from leaving their country?
I think
that's a very illiberal, unconservative position.
I think there's a big room to move between being Kim Jong-un and saying that
Not really.
Hold on.
In practical terms, if you accept...
I gave one side. I want to give the other. There's a big room to move between being Kim Jong-un and saying that everybody in the world is an American. They're just not on our soil yet. I think being an American
that's a ridiculous statement, right? Because everyone in the world is not heading for the United States.
Yes, yeah, but
in fact, right now, numbers of people coming in is dropping a lot.
But the idea that you are supporting is that the moment you come to this soil and that you're born here, you become an American. And I'm
not saying at the moment you come to this soil, you become an American. I didn't. I had to do the test. Right? Okay. I had to do the naturalization process, which is guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. But the 14th Amendment also says if you're born here, then you automatically get it. And I'm not saying.
And I think the problem we have.
It's a hill I'm going to die on.
The problem we have is we don't appreciate citizenship. The problem is that when you talk about immigration like we did before, when we talked about everything.
Like, citizenship is a necessary component of society. You can't just. He is treating citizenship in a way that is entirely too cavalier. That is just wild that he's proposing these ideas. That is insane.
Before, what were we talking about? We were talking about products. We weren't talking about practices or perceptions, which is really what immigration is about.
Can I agree with you? We don't in this country value citizenship enough.
I agree.
I think we should encourage people to have more civics lessons in schools, understand American history and Constitution much more. Here's what's the irony is, I'm sitting in a room today where I've met a bunch of people claiming to be Native Americans who hate everything America stood for centuries.
I think they stand much closer to the America that we originally had, and I think that's the big disagreement.
You lived there or had any clue what that was like.
But you've agreed to dismantling
things about that America.
But you've agreed to dismantling that America as long as it's legal.
You have. You're the person who came here and made your argument.
I'm a constitutional.
He's saying, so Kai is saying that Mehdi Hassan wants to dismantle it. No, he doesn't. He said, if it's done through democratic means, I'm okay with that. It's everybody else saying that they want to get rid of the Constitution. What?
Well,
Taking away an amendment of the Constitution. I didn't. I said keep the Second Amendment.
I'm an originalist. I think we should interpret it the way it was probably originally interpreted.
All right, guys, that's time.
Yeah, but that was like 300 years ago, and it was a fucking cesspool back then in America. We had slavery. Do you really think that it's better to go back to a time when we had slavery? I don't understand.
Let's debate with you, Kites. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Jesus, dude, this is just about the end. I think we get to hear people's takes on it now.
I thought it would be an interesting exercise in trying to understand what genuine far-right conservative folks think. And it was kind of disturbing to see that they think what I thought they think, and they were happy to say it out loud. I am
Yeah, that shit was disturbing, dude. Oh my God.
disappointed that I had to sit across from people who believe in white genocide, who believe I'm not a citizen. Multiple people here said I should be deported. One of them was even the child of immigrants, which I found bizarre.
Obviously, we were way outclassed. Like, we're not professional debaters. I don't think anyone in this room was, maybe one or two people. And clearly, Manny, he does this for a living.
This guy right here was the one who I believe was not there to debate him. Like, he saw that these people were Nazis and he decided he didn't want to be on their side anymore. That's kind of my take on it.
Right, he's a journalist, so he's really good at what he does.
Mehdi Hassan was pretty good at, taking cheap shots, trying to derail people from their arguments, trying to pit me against, some of the people that wouldn't like people of my color to be in the United States, which is irrelevant.
I think one person said as he walked off, you'll be the first to go, which is ominous and racist.
I think that was disheartening and particularly discouraging because it just felt like it was fitting into a stereotype that we're trying to fight against, which is we actually have arguments, we can provide good reason, and that rhetoric just pushes.
But you don't, is the thing. You don't have good arguments, and you don't have, reason or any of that shit. That's the problem. Conservative positions are built entirely on emotion. It's built solely on how you feel about things, not on logic, not on reason, not on rationality. It's all about emotion. And you can pretend that you have some semblance of an ideology built up that makes sense, but the fact is you don't. And when you build an ideology on emotion like this, you end up with nutcases that believe shit like we just heard.